Hey, what's up everybody? Retro Gaming Guy here. So I finally got my hands on the Retro Shooters Pandora box kit right here. So we're going to unbox this. We're going to set it up, test it out, see what the performance and overall experience is like. But before we do, hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop for all future videos right here on the Retro Gaming Guy YouTube channel. Now let's get started. All right, guys, so here we have everything unboxed. So we have two parts to each of our guns. They come separate. Now there is a little connection to make in here. You can see the cable connection right there. So all you have to do is actually make that connection. Very easy to do. It just pinches together. And then you can just slide this in. Go ahead and do that. Now we do have some screws inside the package here that we need to secure in order to lock that in place. I'll give you guys just a little close-up where you can see we have two screw holes right here, two screw holes on the other side as well. That's going to lock everything together nicely. So I'm just going to set these aside. Let me just make the cable connection first. So now before I go ahead and secure everything, I just want to see how these actually feel. And they actually feel like really high quality. When I first looked at these, I didn't think much of them, but really a comfortable gun in all honesty. They're not as big as some of the other light guns out there. Sinden, for example, is much larger. Now we also have what looks like an analog stick over here on the side. We have two buttons above that. And then on the other side, we have one other button over here. So not sure of the exact functionality yet, but so far so good. Definitely feels like a nice size handgun, and the trigger functionality, you can hear it clicking away there as I pull the trigger. It does feel quite nice. So first impressions are good there. We set those aside. So we have two pedals right here. These are going to be great for games like Time Crisis, where you need to engage the pedal to come out of hiding, or disengage it to actually reload. So functionality seems great. Nice click to them. So we'll go ahead and set those aside too. Here we have our sensors. These are going to get mounted, I believe, on each side of our TV, but I'm going to check the instructions to verify that. And now here we have our Pandora's Box Retro Shooter console. So we'll take the band off of this. Now we have ports on the side for player 1 and player 2. Go ahead and show you guys those. Player 1, player 2. Up here at the top, it says pedal, gun recoil, and then gun coil, recoil, and pedal. So it's outlined very nicely, seems pretty easy to install. And then we have USB ports. Actually have 3 USB ports on the opposite side. And up at the top, it says for light guns. So I believe those will plug in there. The other connections obviously will go where indicated. Now the back side of the console, we have a power supply cable connection. We have our HDMI port, we have our Ethernet port, and then we have the micro SD card that comes pre-installed with our light gun games. So let me go ahead and take a look at the capacity. This is a 64 gigabyte SanDisk micro SD card. So love the fact that this is a name brand. Oftentimes with stuff like this, we get generic brands, which are very unreliable. So I love the fact that this is SanDisk. So we know that it is going to be reliable. And it looks like we have some ventilation at the bottom. So all looks pretty good here so far. Go ahead and set that aside. Here we have our power supply cable, and that's going to, again, plug right into the back side of this, right next to the HDMI port. So I'll go ahead and make that connection. And we have a power on and off switch right on here, which is great. So we don't have to worry about unplugging this every time. We can simply flick this on and off right from the switch, which I love. You can even have this on the ground, and you can hit that with your foot if you wanted to. It's raised up enough where it would be able to engage and disengage. So let's take a look at what is included in here. And we also have this other box here, which I'm going to open up. I believe this is the connection for, let me double check. This is probably for the recoil. I'm not sure. Oh, you know what this is? This is a additional connection that I opted in to get. It was an option at checkout to add this on, and it's just to make it easier to make your connections to your console. You don't have to have everything plugged directly in here. It's basically an extender, so you would just extend this out. So if you plan to install this into an arcade cabinet, this is something that you'd want to pick up, but this isn't something that comes stock with the entire setup here. You have to opt in for this offer. So we also have the power supply cable that goes along with this. That plugs right into the back. So again, not 100% necessary, But if you do plan to mod an arcade 1-up cabinet or a regular arcade cabinet, you're going to want to add this just for convenience. So go ahead and move that aside. So let's take a look at what is inside here. Looks like we have our different connection cables. We have an HDMI cable. We have some Type-C to Type-C cables right here, which we'll use for connections. It looks like we have 2 additional sensors right here, if I'm not mistaken. And here's our user manual. So I definitely want to take a look at this. And there's a QR code that we can scan to actually pull up the instructions in depth. And I believe that's going to give us some additional information here, because this is pretty sparse. So I'm going to grab my phone and do exactly that. And I'll actually show you guys on screen what pops up when I do this. All right, so here we have our user manual. So as I scroll through here, it does seem to be pretty extensive, 33 pages. It walks through the main board specifications, Wi-Fi configuration, button configuration, I/O test. And let's scroll down. You can see exactly what's underneath this console right here. Take a look at the board that's used, the cooling fan that's installed within. So underneath this circle, we have a cooling fan, which is cool. I didn't realize that. We have all the detailed specs on here, so really great information. I love the fact that they are being very forthcoming with all that info. Shows us how to do a reset on the top of this, the bottom of this. There's a little hole at the bottom of this, so you can easily reset this if you need to. Walks through the settings inside of the console itself, so looks really impressive so far. Now let's take a look at the light gun setup over here, which I'm most interested in. So we have crosshair settings. When the light gun is inserted into the console for the first time, please do a crosshair setting. If you have 2 light guns, please operate the crosshairs one by one. So that's excellent information. Shows us how we're going to do our testing there, where to shoot. So we can also install game pads with this, and you can actually opt to get your entire setup here with game pads included. I didn't need to because I have a bunch already on hand, but certainly a great option depending on what you're looking to dive into with this. So it shows you how to set up all the different configurations. If you have an arcade control board, it shows you how to set those up. So great information available in here. I love how thorough everything is. It shows you exactly what comes in the kit, as I did as we unboxed this. And let's see how we actually set this up now. So there we go. Excellent diagram right here of where our sensors go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set this up. I'm going to use this as my reference, but we'll set everything up and see how it goes.
Please be safe, team. How could anyone do this? Gee! James, I'm sorry. Harry and Amy are coming to back us up. Hurry! Go! Thanks, G. I don't want to die! My God.
Don't come!
You'll never get that disc.
Let's get out of here.
No, we have to get the disc back.
Action! Fire! Get him! Action! There he is! Yikes! Action! There! Get him! Action! Action! Get him! Out! Action! Get him! There! Fire! Action!
All right, guys, we just jumped out of the Retro Shooter Pandora's box setup. Now, this is going to be somewhat of a complicated review because there's a lot of components to consider that bring this entire experience together. And there's some things that I absolutely love, and there's some things that I absolutely despise about this. So I'm going to break it down for you guys. So let's first talk about the light gun controllers themselves. We have the red one that I demoed today, and then we have this blue one that I'm showing you right now. I love them. I think that they are absolutely amazing. I think that the size of these is great. They're not oversized like a lot of the other options out there. They're lightweight, so you don't fatigue when you're playing long light gun games. In fact, let's take House of the Dead 2. That's a pretty lengthy game. It's about 40-45 minutes or so to play from start to finish, and you definitely fatigue by the end. Your finger starts to cramp up, your arm starts to cramp up, so you want to have something that's lightweight. This is lightweight. I played about 3/4 of the way through that game today, and I didn't fatigue at all. I felt just like I did in the beginning of the experience. So I love this. It's super accurate. The recoil on here is great. I'm a big fan of recoils on light guns. However, it's pretty damn loud. Now, I'm in a house filming late at night. I have 3 kids. They're sleeping upstairs, so I don't want it to be super loud, and it's pretty loud. So take that into consideration. And as far as I know, there's no settings where you can make it less loud or turn the volume down or any of that stuff. So you kind of get what you get with this, but I do enjoy it. I like that recoil sort of feel. I always loved playing the Time Crisis arcade games where you had the slide on the top that was reactive, and then you obviously had the vibrations and the sound of this gun going off. So it's very similar to that. I do like it, but again, the volume is pretty high on it. Now, I've seen some people say these aren't the highest quality, and I think that's due to the buttons and the analog stick in the front, because the rest of this is very durable. It's well made, it's compact, so there's nothing like hanging off of it that I think would get easily damaged. The buttons up here, they're not the highest quality plastic. I don't think they're as durable as the rest of the body of this. So I could see, if somebody's reckless with this or careless, they could get damaged or they could become less responsive. They do perform extremely well right now, but I've only been testing this out for about a day and a half. So over time, I can't say much about that because I haven't experienced anything long-term with these. Now, the analog stick up here, if you're familiar with Ambernick handhelds, this is the same analog stick that you get on those handhelds right here. And you don't actually use this in games, so I don't really care about the functionality. It's just used for navigating through your settings or your game lists and making selections like that. So it performs extremely well, but it does hang off of your gun. And you can see right here, it hangs off, not by much, but it hangs off enough where if somebody was reckless with this or careless, or you had kids just kind of flailing these around, I could see somebody hitting like the edge of a desk. And if you hit this hard enough, I could imagine that would break or do some damage to this or, make it so it's not functioning anymore. You don't want that to happen. I will say this though, if you do have damage to this and it no longer works, you still could use another controller or a keyboard to navigate your settings or navigate your games lists. So it's not a complete deal breaker if you did have damage to that, but certainly want to mention everything that I see, anything that I think could possibly become an issue down the road. Other than that though, great experience with this. And we jumped into Police Trainer today, and specifically in there, I showed you guys the accuracy test. And you can see that this lines up on point right in the center of the head in the target that I was shooting. It's on point. I got it first try. Don't have to tweak anything on here. And that's partially because of this, but also the sensors on this are great. So let's talk about those sensors. The sensors mount to the outside frame of your TV or monitor. And some people are going to like that. Some people are not going to like that. If we look at Sinden light guns, for example, we have the white border that goes on the inside of your game. It actually does interfere with your graphics a little bit. So a lot of people just hate the way that that is set up. This is a great alternative. These 4 sensors, while they are physical sensors that have to be mounted to your TV, they aren't mounted over the screen in any way. So they don't obstruct your view. They don't interfere with your gameplay experience in any way, shape, or form. They're mounted on the outside. So they're easy to set up. They do have a wired connection that goes all around your TV. I have a large screen in here, in fact, and I had a great experience, but I will say this, the cables only have a certain amount of length. So I didn't run out of length, but I got pretty close. I'm playing on a 75-inch screen, which is massive. And for light gun games, I usually don't recommend a large screen because you end up with tracking issues, or especially your reload. You have so much screen in front of you, it's hard to get off screen to reload effectively. Didn't have that issue with this setup. So I think that's a major advantage if you have larger screens. This is going to work better than Sinden. And I actually was just trying Sinden the other night with a mod kit that I got for my Sinden light gun. So I have a fresh, memory on what the experience is like back to back, and I will do a video that compares the two side by side, but this is definitely better for larger screens. Even with, you know, the wired connections that have to be physically mounted to your TV. Now, let's also talk about this right here. These are the pedals that you can use. You get two pedals, one for player one, one for player two. They perform extremely well. The downside here is only that there's not that many games that use these. Time Crisis being the most prominent titles, and they perform extremely well. What I also like is that you have not just the feel of this, but you also have, when you engage it, you have that little click sound. So if you're not paying close attention to, you know, how far you're pushing down on this, you can go off of the sound of this, because again, you get that sound every time you fully engage it. They perform extremely well. They're on point, just a phenomenal experience. And it brings the overall experience together, in my opinion, in a positive way for Time Crisis. This is a game that I emulate quite often. It's my favorite light gun franchise, in fact. This is the first time I've actually played it through emulation with a pedal, and it just totally blew my mind. It made the experience so much better. All right, so we talked about the guns, we talked about the sensors, we talked about the pedals, and how I like all three. Here's what I don't like. Here's what ruins the entire experience for me. Pandora's Box console. It absolutely sucks. Pandora's Box sucks. Sorry to be blunt, but it is what it is. I've reviewed their products in the past. They consistently put out crappy products that deliver subpar results. And they're banking on people overlooking it because they have this plug and play setup and they can go down memory lane and jump into everything very easily. And that's all true. This is a convenient way to enjoy light gun games, but you're not getting the highest level of performance along with it. And what I experienced is what I've seen other people experience, but not many people are highlighting this major issue. There's significant lags and delays in these light gun games with this controller setup. And this entire setup is based around the Retro Shooters controllers, right? I mean, it's called the Retro Shooter Pandora's Box. How come there's only 83 games advertised? So there were actually 94, so I'll give them credit. There's more games than what they advertised. They've probably added some more over time with the recent versions of this, but that makes up for a fraction of what is offered on here. There's about 5,000 games, give or take, included on here. There's less than 100 that are actually light gun games, but their selling point here is retro shooters, light gun, right? So it's kind of a weird way to do this. But, you know, it is what it is. It gives people some added bonuses here with additional games and collections. One thing I've been critical of Pandora's Box with is their layout sucks. I will say this version is the best version I've seen from them in terms of being able to navigate things effectively. They have the right games and the right collections. Alphabetical order is not in alphabetical order, but we'll overlook that. Navigating the light gun collection is pretty easy. I'll give them that. It's only 10 pages. It's easy to go title by title and scan through, locate what you're looking for, and launch the games. But there's significant lags in each of these games. And these aren't games that should be difficult to emulate in any way, shape, or form. So it shows you that what they're using under the hood of this console is subpar. It's not giving you the experience that you should be able to have pretty easily. So they're overcharging for what they actually offer inside of here. And I just think that that's a crappy way to go about enjoying these titles. So you'll notice in the demos here, you're always going to have a delay with the recoil. So try to overlook the fact that the recoil makes a loud noise, which probably covers up, you know, a good portion of the delays that you see here, because you have that significant sound that comes from the recoil after you fire the shot. And that's how recoil works. Recoil is a reaction to you firing a gun, right? So I'm not worried about that delay. I'm worried about the delay that we see on screen every time I pull the trigger. And I also am worried about the lag that we see tracking on screen. So I enabled with these demos the on-screen crosshairs, which I don't like to do. The only reason I do them for demos is so you guys can see where I'm aiming when I'm aiming there. Without that, you don't know if I'm just all over the place. Maybe I'm crappy with these light gun games, or what the issue is. But when you can see on-screen tracking, you know exactly where I'm going, when I'm going there, and you can see how slow the response time is. You know, Area 51, for example, I couldn't move the gun fast enough because it was just so slow. So we had guys popping out all over, and I was consistently, you know, slow to each movement. And it's not me. I know how to play that game. I could close my eyes and probably play, you know, the first 5 minutes Area 51. I grew up playing it so much. It's just such a slow process. Now, the precision is great on here. You can line up a shot. We saw that here with Police Trainer when we went into that accuracy target practice. You saw I lined up the shot right on the head. Every shot was right in that right in that nice grouping there. So we didn't have issues there, but it's that response time. It's just so slow. It's very laggy. So I actually put the light guns away and I went through with a gamepad controller. And every time I just was going through the game menus here, I would hit D-pad down to navigate, title by title on the list. I would hit D-pad down, a second would go by, and I would see the next game get highlighted. Hit it again, 1 second, it moves down. There's lags just in the menu screen. That's such a bad sign for, if you can't even navigate through this effectively in real time, how are you ever going to play any of these games in real time without lag, without delays? It's not the guns, it's not the sensors, it's not the pedals, it's the Pandora's box that ruins the experience here. So if you took this setup, you brought it over to a mini PC or a gaming PC would be even better. You could effectively emulate the games without that lag or delay and have a great experience. The downside is Pandora's box, the console sucks, it's delivering subpar results. So I took a break from filming today. I wanted to check out some of the other review videos here on YouTube about this setup because I've seen a lot in the past, but I haven't dove in depth into everything because I actually don't want to be influenced by what other people have to say. I want to have my own take on things that I review here. But I wanted to jump in and see if other people are having the same experience with me, even if they weren't, highlighting that in their video. And I saw every gameplay demo that anybody did, there's that same delay. It's not significant, but it's enough to slow down the experience and to give you a crappy performance in the end if you really look at it closely. And every one of the gameplay demos I saw was the same thing. They pulled a trigger, second or so, shots fired on screen, or they move around and they're super slow. And they usually put these little clips so you don't really see that. So it's interesting to see that so many people are having this experience, but they're not highlighting it in this way that I am. So I want to put it out there for everybody to see. It's just not a great setup with everything that is offered bundled together here from Pandora's box. If you take this and you put it onto a different setup, I'm confident you'll have a great experience. And I'm going to do that to test it out. I'm going to do it here on the channel very soon. I'm going to be reviewing Chris Coolmod's new light gun setup, and I'll actually demo with these guns as well as some other options out there. And I'll even do a side-by-side comparison just to show you guys the performance with different light gun options out there, because I have Gun 4 IR, which is essentially what this is in all honesty. I have these retro shooters now, and I also have Sinden. So I'll demo each of these side by side with different setups so you guys can see exactly what the side-by-side comparison is with each of the main light guns that are available out there on the market. So let me know what you guys thought of this experience though. Do you see exactly what I'm seeing in terms of the lags and delays on screen with these light gun games? These aren't really difficult to emulate. We should be able to emulate these with, really low-end setups in all honesty. So the fact that this can't just shows you how low-end this actually is. But let me know what you guys think in the comments of this video. If you enjoyed the content today and the heads up on this product, please give me a thumbs up right here on the video. And of course, hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all future videos right here on the Retro Gaming Guy YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.